If money is the currency of economics, power is the currency of politics. The concept of power is one that has existed since the dawn of mankind. For example, Plato in the Republic provided a guide to utopian society upon power vested in aristocratic or oligarchic governance. In other words, society will be best guided and ruled by a wise hereditary guardian class which would exercise power legitimately. In another view, Aristotle provides us with a highly personalized use of power, as he wrote in Nicomachean Ethics. Now, if it is in our power to do noble or base acts, and likewise in our power not to do them, and this was what being good or bad meant, then it is in our power to be virtuous or vicious. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote in The Prince and published in 1513 that a wise ruler will always want to hear the truth, no matter how negative or bad it is. This concept is taken from The Prince, because there is no other way of guarding oneself from flatterers except letting men understand that to tell you the truth does not offend you, that when every other one may tell you the truth, respect for you abates. Therefore, a wise prince ought to hold a third course by choosing the wise man in his state, and giving to them only the liberty of speaking the truth to him, and then only of those things of which he inquires, and of none others, but he ought to question them upon everything, and listen to their opinions, and afterwards form his own conclusions. Niccolo Machiavelli provided divine right monarchs with advice on how to maintain power through use and control of information. In a different approach, Alexis de Tocqueville provided analysis on how to moderate power. One can read Tocqueville's Democracy in America, written in the 1830s, to mean that multiple information channels such as books and newspaper, as well as interlayered social institutions such as schools, church, and family, protect democracy and limit the abilities of a tyrant to emerge and act. Thus, dispersion of information can be seen to disperse the holding and exercise of power. The exercise of power is in itself an informing function. Power is to be applied with purpose, a force towards identity. Mathematicians like to speak of elegant solutions to a problem. The simpler theorem is the better theorem. Occam's razor, simply put, is that the simpler proof, the one that requires the fewest elements, is preferable to and probably more true than the more complex. Hawkins wrote that to employ Occam's razor, one has to cut out all the features of the theory that cannot be observed. Existentialism and structuralism. Jean-Paul Sartre argued that our ideas derive from our experiences. Perhaps so, but our attempt to anthropomorphize that externality is meaningless. For the existentialist, science imitates art, which imitates life. Our sources of information are varied and all are equally incomprehensible despite our best efforts to comprehend them. If existentialism is about the powerlessness of the individual in the face of irrationalism, structuralism is about the power of institutions in the face of rationalism. Structuralism contradicts the basic existentialist assumptions of human freedom and looks to the cultural determinants that dictate human behavior.
Information is power. Power is about the ability to compel. Those who exercise power may do so legitimately or illegitimately, and power may be exercised on a grand scale or on a very small scale. The degree to which an institution can compel human behavior varies widely. One consequence is a new game. In 1925, Harold Vanderbilt revised the rule of auction bridge to create a new variation called the contract bridge. The three-point shot in basketball was introduced in 1961, and basketball itself did not exist until 1891. State power to the control of information came in the form of license and censorship. A far more refinement, the British Statute of Anne of 1710 was the first to formally define copyright. The Statute of Anne extended copyright of then contemporary works to author or those to whom copyright was transferred for a period of 21 years, with a 14 years extension if the authors were still living. Today, under the Berne Convention and other copyright acts, Copyright does not provide a venting function. The US government continues to regulate nudity and profanity over the airwaves. Witness recent Federal Communication Commission decision against Howard Stern and Janet Jackson and the networks that carried them. European countries have more liberal stance. Wardrobe mishaps are not of so great consequence in Eastern Europe, where advertising often incorporates female upper torso frontal nudity as an accessible marketing tool. Another area in which the state seeks to exercise control over information is in the cultural content of information distributed or used within the country. For example, the Canadian Broadcasting Act of 1991 stipulates the Canadian broadcasting system should encourage the development of Canadian expression by providing a wide range of programming that reflects Canadian attitude, opinions, ideas, values, and artistic creativity. France is another example of a country seeking to protect its cultural heritage by formally seeking to limit the effects of foreigner influence. New technologies has had a consequence for society and the way in which power is used and distributed in society. Among these are the contribution of the codex and the printing press to competing religious groups. The ability to maintain records permits society to grow more complex. The ability to communicate instantaneously at a distance allows the exercise of power by traditional as well as new segments of society in ways not before managed. New technologies have bred new industries and have permitted existing enterprises to create and amass wealth again in ways not before managed. In recent years, we have witnessed significant changes in the information economy and its regulation. International institutions have either been strengthened or created to respond to broader regulatory needs. These include the World Intellectual Property Organization and the World Trade Organization, and moreover the Internet Corporation for Assigned Name and Numbers.